Good afternoon, everyone. This is the January 26, 2022 meeting of the Climate Smart Kingston Commission. My name is Julie Noble, and I am the Climate Smart Communities Coordinator, the Sustainability Coordinator for the City of Kingston, the chair of this commission. And we are going to do introductions today since we have a new representative from the Common Council. But I do want to just go over that. First of all, I call the meeting to order at 5:06. Good to see everyone. Happy New Year. And so since our last meeting, the City of Kingston did shift to a webinar-based Zoom system for all municipal commissions and boards. And so we are on webinar now, which means that all of you have been sent an individual link from our communications director to get in here. I put that in the email. Hopefully that was clear for everyone. If you happened, that brings you into the meeting as a panelist. Panelists have visibility on the screen and the ability to mute and unmute themselves. The public, it has a separate link, which is what is published on the agenda and on the website. And as the public attends the meeting, they attend as an attendee mode, which means they can see us all and they can hear us all. And I can see them as an attendee, but they aren't visible. And unless they request to speak or raise their hand, then they are not unmuted. If folks reach out beforehand to speak or to be a panelist or to be a presenter, then they are sent a separate link as well. So all the commissions and boards are shifting to this system. And so thank you everyone for being here and being part of it. So we are going to go around and do introductions since we have a new representative. Again, my name is Julie Noble. Carl, thank you for being here. Welcome. And Carl, would you like to introduce yourself? I can't hear you, although it says you're not muted.
How about that? Is that better?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
I can't hear you.
Oh, we can definitely hear you.
Anyway, let me talk and then we'll figure it out. It's very weird talking to pantomime on the other end. Anyway, so hello everybody. I'm really excited, and that's not just words, to be part of this commission, because I don't particularly like to talk about myself, but in this case, it's relevant. I started working in sustainability in 1987. I had a 2-decade career or more, depending on how you count, as a consultant and journalist specializing in the whole nexus of issues related to business and responsibility, social enterprise, socially responsible business, green consumerism. I started fretting about climate change in 1985. I've been dealing with that as a process of, dealing with grieving for many, many decades now. So this is right in the wheelhouse of what I care about passionately. And I do hope that my experience has given me something that I can make positive contributions, because I've been involved for 2 decades, 3 decades or more, depending on how you count. Thanks, Julie.
Great.
Hope everybody heard me. It's very weird.
We heard you. Thank you for being here. Hopefully you can figure out, you can't hear what I'm saying. Hopefully you can figure out what I'm saying right now. Okay. Okay, so then introductions are irrelevant because
I've got it.
Oh.
I can hear you now.
Okay. All right, so then we'll go around and I'm just going to go in the order that I have everyone on my screen. So Kevin, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Kevin McAvoy. I'm the secretary of this commission. I'm also the secretary of the Conservation Advisory Council, and I'm on a few other boards and project committees and what have you, and including the Kingston Land Trust, which is not a city board. So I think that covers me for the moment, just to keep it going.
Thanks. Melissa?
Hi, I'm Melissa Ianchetta. This is my second term on Climate Smart Kingston. I'm on the education community outreach subcommittee, if that's what it's called. And I facilitate the Kingston Repair Cafe.
Thanks. Ellie?
Hi, Hi, I'm Ellie Gartenstein. I am an ex officio member of the commission because I work for the city of Kingston. I am, I guess, technically the designee of the engineering department, but I work for Julie and I work on a variety of sustainability initiatives here in the city.
Thanks, Ellie. Dan?
Dan Smith, an energy manager by profession, here on the committee focusing on energy technical issues and also our refrigerants subcommittee.
Thanks, Dan. Karen?
Oh, hi, I'm Karen Sullivan. I'm basically a real estate agent, try to bring the message to realtors and buyers and sellers. But I'm a retired teacher and happy to serve on the commission. I like the theater of the commission when we're at the farmers market, holding up signs and taking pictures and spreading the message locally that way. Happy to be here with everyone here.
Thanks, Karen. Maya?
Hi, everyone. My name is Maya Nemisto. I am a longtime environmental science educator in the Hudson Valley. This is my second term on the commission, and I have been doing some work on refrigerants and with the education outreach subcommittees. I think one of my favorite things I've ever done with Climate Smart was a waste audit with Julie, which I will never forget. So if anyone has the opportunity to do so in the future, you should do it once at least.
So Maya is referencing work that we did with our organics diversion plan, where we literally dug through trash, a lot of it from lots of places, municipal buildings, parks, and we divided it up into trash, recycling, and potential composting by hand. And it was also life-changing for me. So thanks, Maya. Cal?
Hello, my name is Cal. This is my second term on the board as well. And I have a history in the renewable energy industry and currently work as a climate educator.
Thanks, Cal. Cool mural, by the way. Roberto?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, my name is Roberto Rivera. I'm a member of the Kingston Climate Smart Commission. I also represent Kingston and the Ulster County Climate Smart Commission. I have done some work in environmental science when I was a graduate student at NYU. In the 1980s, we already knew the climate was happening. And we knew that we were waiting for the signal, but it's here. And so I'm here, and I live in Ulster, in West Hurley, but I have property in Kingston, so I am here to help in any way I can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Serena is not here presently. So thank you, everyone, and welcome. We have guests and as attendees. If there's anyone that is a guest that would like to speak, you can raise your hand now and I will promote you to be able to speak. I haven't had anyone indicate that they were interested.
I don't think I can see the guests, and I think I'm supposed to include them in the minutes.
Okay, I have two attendees currently
Okay.
that I'm able to see. One is Roberto, so Roberto must be logged in twice.
Oh, okay.
And
Roberto's-
the other's name simply says Aiden, A-I-D-A-N.
Okay. Aiden.
Okay, so I'm not seeing anyone interested in speaking, so we're going to move on to modifications to the agenda. Are there any modifications? Hearing none, we'll move on to review and approval of the December 2021 meeting minutes. Does anyone have any comments, changes, or concerns to the December minutes? If not, we need a motion to approve.
I move that we approve them.
Cal, can we get a second?
A second.
Karen, any discussion? All in favor? Say aye or thumbs up, or give me some sort of indication that you're a go.
Aye.
Okay, I see thumbs up from everyone who I can see. Cal already firsted it, so we're moved, so he's a yes. Roberto, are you a yes?
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Okay, unanimous. Thank you. Adopted as is. Thank you, Kevin, for putting those together. All right, so moving on to old business, climate action plan is final. It is complete. It is now posted on Engage Kingston, so you are able to go to engagekingston.com/climate-action-plan and see the final plan. It has been updated to include the names of the current Common Council. And as of this Friday, we will be presenting the proposal for the current Common Council to review and adopt the climate action plan as city policy. This is the same action that we did for the first climate action plan. We did the same thing for the open space plan. And we are now doing this for the second climate action plan. So the mayor will be presenting it as it is a municipal plan. And then I will be attending the law, should it be put on, accepted by the Common Council president and placed on the Laws and Rules Committee for February on the 16th. Then I will be presenting the climate action plan at that time. I also will have printed copies for the Common Council that I will be presenting to them. And we'll be going over that. The consultant, Cadmus, will not be presenting. Their contract is complete, but I will be kind of going over that with them at the time. And so I'm looking forward to that, to have conclusion on that. And I do encourage you all to go and check out and download the plan. If you want a printed copy, ask me and I will print you a color printed copy that is bound. If you don't want a printed copy, then that's fine. You could also print it yourself. It is 104 pages, so 52 pages back to back. I am thrilled about that. It's been a long time. And also, since the last time we had our meeting, we are already advancing things within our climate action plan. So we got our announcement this month that we received 3 more electric vehicle charging stations. And one of our actions in the climate action plan, one of the 20 actions, number 12, is advanced EV charging station infrastructure. And so we received 3 grants that we applied for. And so that will be 6 more ports to add to our infrastructure that we have around the city. So the announcement just came out by Governor Hochul just in the last week or so. We are the only community in Ulster County that receives ZEF funding, so we're proud of that. And the locations are going to be, one of them is going to be in the North Front Street municipal parking lots. There's not currently lots of parking, but no EV charging stations on North Front Street. Sorry, I sneezed. Terrible timing. It went back in. Block Park. So we're going to be adding another site downtown in a park. So Block Park will have one that's on a Beale Street. And the third set is going to be on Garrigan Drive. So another set that will enhance our downtown set. It's specifically at the Building Safety Department. And so this is dual purpose in that it is going to be publicly available and it's also available to the staff at Building Safety. We've been working really hard to transition our fleet to electric vehicles, and that department is the rock star of transitioning their fleet. So they have more vehicles than they have ports and plugs for, and so they keep asking for more infrastructure, and we are delivering. So there is a large bank of EV charging stations at the Building Safety office on Garrigan Drive, which is right next to the police station and within one block of all of the lovely places downtown. So those hopefully will move into action and be installed this year, advancing our actions within our climate action plan already and immediately. So, yeah,
Julie, the third one, I got Block Park, building safety on Garrigan. What was the first one?
North Front Street.
North Front Street. Okay, got it. Okay, go ahead.
So
Um,
will, can you hear?
Yes, we can hear
Will civilians be charged for the use of this?
you. So they will not. All of these charging stations that we have right now, which include Lower Broadway, Dock Street, Cornell Street parking lot. We got funding to put one in at the Prince Street lot across the street from my office here at the Monkey Joe lot. We're putting one in at Deet Stadium, building safety, and these. In addition to the one at City Hall, there's also one at the Andy Murphy Center. Those are all free. They are not free to operate. The city is eating the cost. So with all of those were funded under grants, and each of those grants provided $500 of free electricity for as long as the $500 lasts. We started installing these in 2018, and it took a while. There's been certainly an upward trend, but some of those has taken a long time to get to $500 worth of charging. But they're getting there, and we have made a commitment as a city that, at least for now, and from 2018 till now, at least into the foreseeable future, we want these to be offered for free. Now, I will state that there are charging stations within the city limits that are not city municipally operated that do have a fee. So Ulster County has many different charging stations. They charge. I can't speak to their processes or what. I believe that there's actually a short period of time that there's no fee, and then there's maybe a fee of like 50 cents, or maybe it's 50 cents. I don't know exactly. So that's to say that there are charging stations within city limits that there's a fee for, but those are not municipally operated by the city. All of the charging stations are within one network, which is ChargePoint. And so you can go onto the ChargePoint app and you can find all of them, and it tells you if it's available, how much it costs, if there's any issues, and then you can plug in. So we are excited to move those forward. We hope to get those installed this year and continue. We also are starting to really think about what implementation for the climate action plan looks like. We haven't had an internal meeting yet to sit down to think about what that looks like in terms of an active implementation plan. As we have for the first climate action plan, it's kind of like we're working on all the things without necessarily a plan of how to do it or a strategy, but have gotten a lot of things done. For now, that's what we're doing, but we are going to be sitting down very shortly to have how are we going to execute all these things over the next 8 years now. So that's the climate action plan. I do encourage you to check out the last draft, or the final copy, as the Climate Smart Kingston Commission is responsible for enacting that plan. Any questions or comments on climate action plan?
Well, if you just have a moment, I would like to add one comment as a
Sure.
EV consumer. I find that I take road trips and I sometimes get jammed and I have to do a DC Connect charge, a fast charge, it's more than type 2. And I'm not aware of anything around here for that. And that's a real, for restaurants, for cities, offering DC level chargers really attracts people off the train. It's a magnet. Trust me, it's a magnet. And I'm wondering if that's part of thinking of how we're going to introduce high-speed charging in addition to type 2 chargers. That
is a great question. I feel and hear you 100%. I up until just this last month, I have been in a family that isn't both vehicles are EV. Up until last month, we've always had a hybrid, and so when we've traveled, we've used the hybrid. I now am a family that has 2 EVs, and they're both fully electric. And last week we traveled to Lake Placid when it was -20 degrees in Lake Placid.
Right.
I had to stop 5 times to charge on the way up and charge on the way back, and we charged with fast chargers. I understand 100% the difference between, for those of you who may not be familiar with EV charging, for instance, if I needed to get a full charge for an electric vehicle, so my vehicle, both of my electric vehicles, which are 2 different types, they take about 200 miles to the charge. That's about 6 hours of sitting at a slow charger, 6 to 8. A fast charger, you can get that in about an hour, maybe half an hour. And that is the difference between sitting at a Stewart's for 6 hours or sitting at a Stewart's for an hour or half an hour. And it's a game changer. And people talk about range anxiety, and it is a thing. So what I'm saying is, yes, it is critical that we get level 3 chargers here. However, all of the chargers that we have are at level 2, and the funding that we receive is for level 2. That being said, the state is installing level 3 chargers, and I have commitment from the state that they are going to be putting in a level 3 charger at Dietz Stadium. And frankly, they would have put one in already. However, I put the pause on it because Dietz Stadium is about to get an $18 million renovation. And I can't have the state put in a level 3 charger and then rip up the whole darn complex. I have to have them put it in once the construction is complete. So they are definitely interested. Any funding that comes through that we can look at for level 3 chargers, I fully understand the value and why we need it. It's definitely on the radar.
Thank you. I will just add this very quickly. What you may not know is if you run out of charge on a highway in an EV, you can't get towed. It will break the engine. So this is not just range anxiety. This is end of car anxiety.
Yeah, and just as a reference, when it's negative 20 degrees and you're driving up hills to the top of the Adirondacks, the number that you see goes down really, really fast. It's not 200 miles. It's like 100.
Yeah,
so yes. All right, anything else on the climate action plan? Now we'll move on to refrigerants. Dan or Maya or anyone have anything on that?
I don't really have any updates from last time, unfortunately. I think I have to go through our notes to see what our next steps were. Maya or Ellie? I know Ellie was working on something internally, the city of Kingston assets. That's kind of an internal process. But the last we left it, we were going to discuss what can we do in the community and neighborhood pickup, and trying to wrap our heads around that.
Yeah, internally, I have an inventory that we did of the refrigerants. Well, we did, it was done before I started, so I don't know how accurate it still is, but I do have that inventory.
I'd say it's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
John and I had done that, and for the city, there wasn't a huge amount of assets.
Yeah.
Like window unit or something like that.
The internal thing I was going to start working on was a refrigerant management policy, but right now I'm working on closing out some other things that have to be done in the next couple of months. There's like a pretty strict deadline on that. So once those things are kind of over and done with, I was going to start working on a management policy. But I don't have anything for that yet. But I do have an inventory, and we still, I think we still want to do the Amnesty Day, but I can't really speak to that. I think Julie, you got to speak to that. We're doing Amnesty Day.
Let's speak to that when we talk about Earth Fair.
Okay, so that's all I have.
Okay, couple things. One is that I do have a conversation and a meeting with Department of Public Works on Friday where we're going over the fee schedule and cleaning up a little bit, no pun intended, some recycling issues that we need to deal with. And I will be talking to them at that point about refrigerants and what their thought is about an Amnesty Day. I guess I just said I was going to talk about it Earth Fair, but I'm now literally talking about it right now. So I'll talk about it with them at that time. Also, the fee schedule is set up so that the fee collection for refrigerants, for white goods with refrigerants, is one thing if it has refrigerants in it, and another thing if it's lesser if it doesn't, which basically incentivizes people to self-release the refrigerants illegally. And there's also no way for us to know if the refrigerants are present or not when we receive a white good. So we're going to be reevaluating that fee structure as part of our conversation on Friday. I haven't seen anything come through about the grant announcement for the refrigerants. Maya, do you know the timeline on that at all? No.
No, I don't think they have not announced it yet. And things have been really slow in the grant world.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
not surprising. So we'll keep an eye out on that. The only other thing I want to mention, and this is not, I haven't vetted this, I'm not working for them or promoting it at all, but I did see something come across my desk today, which is a refrigerants webinar tomorrow by New Yorkers for Cool Refrigerant Management. I don't know if anyone's heard of this group before, but it's called Refrigerants Solutions for the Super GHGs Lurking All Around Us.
Yes. They came and spoke here previously, didn't they? It was Michael Helm from Chester, maybe?
Yes, Michael Helm.
So I believe we've had them speak here also, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that's a better memory than I, but here's the flyer. I can't figure out how to share it in the chat, but it is Refrigerants Solutions for the Super Greenhouse Gases Lurking All Around Us. Michael Helm, you can see right here, is part of it, and it's tomorrow from 7 to 8 p.m. and you can register for free here. Which
Can you
is
email that around to everybody?
I can.
Yeah.
We'll email it around in a moment when I can. So hopefully somebody here can make that. That'd be great. And learn about what they're talking about. Oh, you know what? I can put the registration in the chat at the very least so that the world can get to the registration. That's the link. When I click on the link, that's what I get. But I will also email this around in 1 second. All right, anything else on refrigerants? If not, we will move on to city sustainability projects. So a couple updates. Community preservation plan is moving along. Very exciting about that. We are now in contract with the state, which is what I was waiting on. The community preservation plan, we are, I drafted a request for proposals. We will be hiring a consultant to write our community preservation plan. And the request for proposals was reviewed by a couple folks internally. And it has been released and issued. It is due on February 10th. And it was in the paper today, and it's been put out on the website and sent directly to hundreds of firms, and it was posted on BidNet. So all the different avenues for that. And once the proposals are received on February 10th, they're going to be reviewed by an internal review team to choose a consultant. And it's a request for proposals for service. So it is a qualitative review. We don't have to choose the lowest bidder. And then we will contract with that consultant and begin the public process of prioritizing our information, but we'll actually start with reviewing our existing plans and our data. So the community preservation plan will be a combination of our open space plan and historic plans and our natural resources inventory, our comprehensive plan, pulling this all together to prioritize to the parcel level parcels for conservation. And so we're looking forward to that. If anyone here is interested in either being part, well, at this point, what I'm looking for is anyone who may be interested in reviewing the proposals. I have no idea what the response will be. There could be one, there could be a dozen, there could be more than a dozen. I can't imagine that that'll be the case. I expect there'll be 5 or fewer. But sometime between the 10th and a few days after the 10th, probably the week after, I'm looking for folks who are interested in reading the proposals, completing a scoring matrix that I will create on evaluating them, and then sitting down virtually, meeting with the team of us to discuss the proposals and select a consultant. If there's anyone that's interested in that, I presume the whole thing, depending on how many bids, how many proposals we get, it would take you fewer than 10 hours of your time total. Please let me know if you're interested in doing that. Subsequent to that, of course, I'll be looking for people to serve on the project advisory committee, but right now the immediate ask is anyone who is interested in serving on the review team. And I have some folks from the Conservation Advisory Council who are committed to that as well, and also some city staff that will be participating. So I'm not looking for a huge group, but if anyone's like, oh my gosh, I love doing this, love critiquing and reviewing proposals and providing my opinion on things, then let me know. You don't have to let me know the second, just to reach out and let me know. So that's a community preservation plan. And I do meet monthly with a group of communities in the Hudson Valley that are advancing their community preservation plans on the same timeline. So right now, Gardner and Blooming Grove. Oh, what's the other one? Something with a skill at the end of it. Can't think of the other name. There's another community that's in Westchester County that is also moving theirs forward. I can't think of the name of it, but I will at some point on this call. Anyway, we meet with Scenic Hudson and the Trust for Public Land, and we all talk about how we're doing, moving all these plans forward, and we troubleshoot off each other and learn from one another. So that's exciting. The other project I wanted to mention is the Kingston Point Park Phase 2. We are not yet in contract with the state. As Maya mentioned, grants are a little slow. I will also say contracting for grants are also really slow. It happens to be the case that in the last few months, we've been awarded many grants, specifically our department, which is fantastic, but the execution of the contracts has been slow, which frankly is not a big deal because it kind of gives us a chance to breathe a little bit. But there's also the things that we want to just advance. And it's kind of like, where's the contract? But lots of reasons why things are taking time. So we are not in contract yet with the state on the Kingston Point Park Phase 2, but we are anxiously waiting. The other projects I'll probably speak about in the context of other things on the agenda, unless anyone has any questions or comments. Oh, it's not peak skill. It's probably not even skill. I'm just thinking skill because I can't think of the name of it, but I'm going to look it up in my stuff and I'm going to get back to you. But for now, if there isn't anything else on those things, we will move on to Repair Cafe.
Not Chester in Orange County, is it?
Nope, Chester already has one.
Right. I thought maybe they were on the, no, okay.
No, it's not Chester.
I don't think I have that information.
All right, I'm gonna look it up. But we will move on to Repair Cafe. Melissa?
First, I just wanted to say Betta texted me and said, sorry, something came up and
Oh.
she can't make it.
Okay, thanks.
But she sent her apologies.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so obviously last meeting I said, I didn't want to make that decision to cancel the cafe, and all Hudson Valley cafes had been canceled since last meeting. There are none coming up. There was a Hudson Valley facilitators meeting that I attended, and there were folks from Westchester who also attended, and they're doing in-person cafes still, which Sustainable Hudson Valley was a little worried about, because there's some, because they're like the fiscal sponsor, there's, I don't know, worry of like having in-person events and then someone getting sick and then, coming back at Sustainable Hudson Valley. So Melissa Everett was kind of like, we can't tell you not to do it. So, but, I mean, they're like, oh, we're going to have the windows open and the doors open, but no one in the Hudson Valley is doing it. I'm not going to be doing it. But they did talk about doing like a virtual event again, that's being circulated, and more of a DIY, do it yourself workshop series. So we would pick topics like one person, like a knife sharpener, and they said, when you get a knife set, you get that piece that you can, sharpen your knives with, but no one knows how to use that properly. So maybe having that, but there's a bunch of talks about, like, you can look at that up on YouTube. Why would we do that? So nothing is concrete, but we talked about maybe having a virtual event in February. I will let everyone know if that progresses and what it's about, because they're still hashing it out. And let's see, they're still working on the coordinator position, but there is going to be a sale at the New Paltz Methodist Church to raise funding for the coordinator position. And that is going to be late March, early April, still being finalized as well. But they're collecting donations. So it's this woman who puts on these sales for fundraising, and they basically have, I think only 15 grand right now for the coordinator position to fill the Hudson Valley facilitator role. So they're looking to raise a couple thousand more from this sale. So if you guys have anything that you want to get rid of and, you know, put it to a good cause, let me know and I can put you in contact. Other than that, yeah, everything's kind of at a standstill again. But yeah.
Okay. Someday we'll get through this. Everything's at a
Yeah.
standstill plan.
Oh, one more thing about Repair Cafe. Sorry, I forgot. New Paul's climate, I guess, so the New Paul's Repair Cafe is looking to earn points towards climate smart certification. And so they reached out to the whole Hudson Valley repair cohort group, Google group. And they wanted to know, because it's not held in a town-owned building, how do they get a resolution or support from their town board? And I don't know if that's something, like, if anybody remembers John doing, or did we do that for Kingston? Do we know anything about that? Or should I look into it? Okay, because they're saying you can't get points if you don't hold your repair cafe in a town building. But I've never.
That seems strangely specific
Yeah. Okay.
and irrelevant.
I'll take your furrowed brows. I'll look into it. Yeah.
These are 40-year-old, almost 41-year-old ridiculous lines. That's what this is. Just there all the time.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know if that like happened before my time on the commission or what, but it seems like I'll have to look into it. Okay.
Let us know. Okay. Anything else on Repair Cafe?
Nope.
Okay. It's Phillipstown. I was way off. Nothing with a skill. It was Phillipstown. I also don't even know if Phillipstown is in Westchester County, and I apologize to all Phillipstowners.
It's in Putnam.
Putnam. That's literally what I was thinking. Putnam. Phillipstown. They are working on a community preservation plan. Anyway, anything about outreach and education or youth engagement?
I have one thing. The YMCA, Tom Polk reached out, and they're having a reflective vest distribution. Like, until they run out, it's first come, first serve. I did get the email on the 10th, so I don't know if they already ran out, but it's for walkers, joggers, bicyclists, anybody. You can go pick up a vest during daylight, or sorry, during their office hours, Monday through Friday, 5 to 9, or Saturday from 7 to 2. And sizes are medium, large, extra large. So I thought that was cool. They got a donation from the American Legion for reflective vests. So
Yeah,
kind of outreach, I guess. Yeah.
Great. Anything else on that?
Oh, and then just, can you send me the flyer for that refrigerants event and I'll add it to the Facebook?
Yes, I will. I'm literally going to do this. As soon as I say Green Business Challenge, Betta? Nope. Anyone have anything on Green Business Challenge? Zoning, Kevin?
I had a quick thing on education before we moved all the way on.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, just the outreach materials that I was working on, I tabled for now because I had things like that I had to do for money. But those are almost done. So I'll be happy to pick promote outreach materials back up, especially if we're doing an Earth Fair. So in that discussion, I would love us to talk just a little bit about what people would like us to hand out, like what that would say, so that I can be strategic in what I design and send around for feedback. So I did not forget is mostly what I wanted to say. Thank you. All done.
Awesome. That's great. Thanks for the heads up on that. Okay, anything before we move to zoning? Kevin?
Okay, I think I'd refer everybody, excuse me, to Engage Kingston. There's a summary of the charrette there. And there's a couple of short videos that will explain, the process rather than us going through it here, because it can get fairly technical. But there's a couple of ones I think Victor Cole did that was, or Victor Dover, Dover or Cole. I get them backwards, the two of them. But in any event, one of them has a YouTube video on Engage Kingston, and yeah, it's very informative and it's 3 minutes. So, and I will put that link in the chat.
Great.
There are still, you can still make comments if if you have comments to make. They're willing to hear whatever people have to say. I think in the spring is when the next draft will be on this. So we'll see what they're doing then. But in the meantime, stay in touch if you have anything to tell them. And we'll get that link.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have anything on zoning? Okay, then we will move on to renewable energy, CCA or solarize. Anyone have any updates on any of those things? I don't have any.
Do we have an update on the NYSERDA contract?
For the solar on our building?
Yeah.
We do not.
Okay.
So an update on that project. This is NYSERDA Clean Energy Communities Leadership Round funding that we received an award for, $50,000. We have not received a contract yet from the state to review. Again, another contract that is taking a while. On that note, though, I am going to be doing a budget transfer this month to continue to move on that funding. We did get approvals last year from the council to cover through the fund balance, the balance of the project that the grant would not cover. When we went out to bid for the solar project, we did award it to Sun Common, but their total came in at $36,840 higher than our budget amount. So we did get that amount approved by the council. I have to go back to the council to get it approved again. So I'll be going back to them at the February 9th meeting, should it be put on the finance agenda. But no, I have not heard from the state, from NYSERDA. So I am waiting on multiple state agencies for contracts before we can advance. But that's okay. It's very, very, very cold out. And I wouldn't want to be installing solar on the top of someone's roof right now either. Not to put down anyone who's watching this video and is a solar installer, but I have compassion for people who have to work outdoors in the cold, in cold, windy places. All right. I think that actually covers clean energy communities, unless Ellie, you had something else on clean energy communities.
No, I'm just wondering about the solar, but probably not expecting that for a while now, right?
Seems like it.
Okay, then I don't have anything.
Okay. Anyone else have other things on clean energy communities? All right, then moving on to solid waste management. A couple things, organics plans still in the works and working diligently on it. Also, I am, as part of the grant that we have through the state for municipal waste reduction and recycling, the recycling coordinator for the city. So one of the things we are developing, which actually came out of the organics plan as an inspiration, is an FAQ for our website regarding recycling. So in the organics plan, as part of the data collection, one of the things that Ellie actually was working on was reviewing best practices in other communities for how they communicate about their transition to organics and how they communicate the process of how they do organics collection. And in doing so, Ellie evaluated lots of different municipalities around the US, their websites and their online presence. And we noticed that lots and lots of them have a very easy, like frequently asked questions. And so I was inspired by that. And so for the last couple of weeks, I have been working with the Department of Public Works to gather the first step has been to gather what are the questions that people are asking. So I am the person that responds to the, we have an email directly for recycling questions, which is recycling@kingston-ny.gov. And I get dozens of emails per year from that email. But our dispatch gets hundreds of calls, our admin office at DPW gets hundreds of calls, and it's all logged. And it's logged in a way where we can sort it and say, 45 people asked what happens when my yard waste doesn't get picked up. So I drafted frequently asked questions related to recycling and trash and yard waste, totes. And as part of that, I also included about 100 item list of what do I do with my toaster? What do I do with my fence post? What do I do with my tree that I just cut down in my yard? What do I do with my, router? What do I do with my wreath? So lots of things that might not be intuitive what people should be doing with them. And in doing this process, we realized when I circulated it around DPW that there is not consensus on what to do with each of these things. So we have a meeting on Friday to understand how we can all get on the same page. And in doing so, also realize that the city's code, the solid waste code, is somewhat antiquated, and that there may be practices that are currently taking place that did not follow the code. And so there's also situations where the fee structure doesn't match the code because the code is antiquated. So we are having this meeting with both administrative level and enforcement level and staff level to go over these discrepancies and get on the same page and figure out a plan for how to move forward, both internally so that we're all on the same page, but also with messaging externally so that folks can have the most accurate and accessible information. I always direct people also if they have something specific, and I'll say all of this to you. One of the resources I use every single day is Ulster County Resource Recovery Agency has something called Recyclopedia on their website, and it is like alphabetical aerosol, apples, like it's through the alphabet of like, what do I do with my anything? And now that is on a county level, but we bring our stuff to UCRA. So basically whatever they're saying applies to the city of Kingston as well. So all these things that we're going to put together, look at the web. I'm going to need to, we're going to revamp the recycling part of the website a little bit so that it's more clear. Because right now, although the structure is set up, it's just like a scroll system. Simple things like, I just moved to Kingston and I don't know what the heck day my trash gets picked up. Or like, what do these different totes mean? Or my tote suddenly is gone, or it's missing a wheel, or, whatever. There's a lot of things that folks want to know. What are the hours of the transfer station? Can I pay by credit card at the transfer station? Lots of different things. So we're going to try to make that much more accessible and digestible and universal so that everyone understands that. So that's the big thing we're kind of working on right now. And if anyone has anything that they are like, oh my gosh, everyone needs to know what you do with your something. Or if anything's been bugging you, like, oh my gosh, I have no idea. I've been keeping this blender in my garage because I'm not sure if it's metal or if it's trash or if it's whatever. Actually, to that, I would say, bring it to Melissa so she can fix the blender with Repair Cafe and keep using the blender. But there's a lot of things where it's questionable. So I don't envy folks having to make decisions every time you have something you want to get rid of. It's not always clear, but we are working on trying to make it work. All right. That's what I have for solid waste management. Any comments, questions, or anything else on that?
I have a comment, Julie. Some of my tenants, when they put out the trash, they're not sure what goes where. And then when we put it out on the sidewalk, the pickup comes, and if something that is not supposed to be there is there, they don't pick it up, they leave it. That's my experience. That's what's been happening. So I just wanted to add that. to the conversation, that's excellent. And this is exactly what we need. What you're doing, that's exactly what we need, right?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's something that we kind of, from the inside, we didn't really think of it, but like from an external perspective, it just seems like something that every community should have. Frequently asked questions on your website about recycling. It's something that we've been remiss, and now we're working on it. But yeah, in terms of leaving things behind, it does vary a little bit by the drivers. Sometimes they will take the thing out that doesn't belong and they'll like tuck it into the tote so you can see what it is. Sometimes they'll leave the whole tote there, depending on how many.
Yeah, that's what they've been doing to
Yeah.
me.
If there's more than one contaminant in there, and a contaminant basically means anything that doesn't fit into the category of what's supposed to be there, then they might just leave the whole thing, because they're not, we have instructed them to not dig through unless it is something that's right on the top. That's like, oh, look at that, a pizza box. Boom, take it out.
So we need the clarity so that I can go to my tenants and say, these are the things that go and these are the things that don't go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. And don't hesitate if your recycling gets left behind one week or not picked up, to take a picture of it, or to, give me an email, send me an email or call dispatch to say, like, I don't see anything in here that I feel is a contaminant, but clearly the drivers did, right? So there's something in there that you're not aware of that is a contaminant. And we just encourage people and really emphasize not to wish cycle. Don't just put something in the tote that you hope can get recycled. That is not a thing anymore. We cannot work that way. And we are more inclined to not pick up the entire thing if there's any contamination. We don't pick things up for wish cycling. We know exactly what can and cannot be collected. And so we will leave it behind if it has contamination.
Excellent.
We're not typically giving violations or fines or even warnings, but basically it's a warning if your stuff gets left behind. And they will do warnings, and ultimately there will be violations, but we don't jump to that quickly.
All right.
Anything else on that? All right, then we will move on to new business. So most of you know that we've been doing an Earth Fair for a long time. 2013, I think, was the first time. I did send out an email recently. We haven't done the Earth Fair for the last 2 years because of COVID. And in a year where we are all hopeful, we are back on the plan of at least considering what to do for festivals and events moving forward. We're having the same considerations for the kayak festival and other events that are hosted through our department here. And the Earth Fair came up in discussion because it takes multiple months to plan. For those of you that are not familiar with it, the city, with many other partners, including the close partner of the Climate Smart Kingston Commission, has hosted at the Forsyth Park the Earth Fair. And it is a full day event that's typically held around Earth Day, although originally it started out as an alternative to Black Friday. So in the beginning, we held it on Black Friday and called it Green Friday. And I don't know if any of you were involved in that, but that was a very cold option. So we switched it to an Earth Fair in the spring. And it has grown to be an incredible event with vendors and entertainment all day, and food, and an exchange fair where people can bring things that they don't want anymore. People can take things, sapling giveaways, classes, EV car demos, paper shredding, e-waste collection, bike rides. Like, it's amazing, right? And it is an incredible amount of work. And the folks here in our office recognize that it is an incredible amount of work. And we also recognize that it is one thing to have enthusiasm and excitement around having an event, but it's another thing when all of the work falls to 1 or 2 people that also have other things to do. And so this year we decided we did get a go ahead if we want to do it from the mayor, in terms of he's not giving us the don't do it because of COVID reasoning. However, we recognize that if there is not capacity beyond our small office to help, that we are not going to do it. And that's not a threat, it's just true, the truth. So we are convening a meeting on February 3rd at 2:30, and I sent out a note for anyone who wants to just at least talk about the capacity of doing it. And when we're talking about it, we're talking about things like each individual component of planning the event. Sorry, I'm looking for a paper right now. Lost it. Oh, here we go. So each individual part of planning has so many different levels to it. And it's really important that each of those individual components has a go-to person, like entertainment, like coordinating the vendors, like coordinating the exchange store, kids activities. So in the past, we've had like a natural play space, which is so incredibly fun. But like, what other kids activities are there? What brings kids there? What keeps kids there? Coordinating volunteers, coordinating the sponsorships, right? So this costs a lot of money to put on. It's not all sponsored by the city. We've got to bring in sponsorships, advertising, food, logistics, the website, all these different things. This is a full-fledged fair. So our plan is to bring everyone together on the 3rd to just talk about if. Can this happen? And I'm not saying that people that come on the 3rd are going to give you okay, you're here, so now you're going to be the chair of this or whatever, but we just need to talk about if. And if we sit there on the 3rd and say, this is it, and there's overwhelming unanimous support and capacity, we are all in to move forward. And if we sit there and say, you know what, everyone wants it, but no one is able to help, or people aren't comfortable with it being held during COVID, or most folks go to Florida for the next 3 months, like, then it just can't happen, because it's too much without a big planning committee. So I would love to open the discussion now for people's first and general thoughts. This is just sort of a before February 3rd meeting. I will say there's definitely a lot of overwhelming support for having the event so far. From the email that I sent out, I got a great response already from people saying, I'm going to be at the meeting and I want to help out. I don't necessarily want to influence that or influence the decision, but I will say that's been the response so far. So let me just put it out there for discussion. Anything people want to ask about, talk about, suggest, thoughts? What are people thinking?
Well, it's as an educational event, Julie, how many people actually have been coming through these events typically? That clearly is a factor in determining the value of going forward.
That is a really great question, because there is no pointed consolidated entrance in and out, and there's no attendance fee. So, and there's no one clicking, counting people around, because the people coming in from all different directions. It is not a fenced in space. It's an open flow layout. We project, or we sort of think that there's someplace between 500 and 1,000 people that attend, which compared to other municipal events like the Fall Festival at the Nature Center gets thousands of people. Obviously the Huli and the Italian Festival and all those events get thousands of people. However, I always have this feeling of, if one person is impacted, then it's valued in and of itself. However, this is a multi-month planning process, and it costs a lot of money to put it on. What we have seen in the last couple of years in particular is what really brings people in, with except like also all the things that I've mentioned. But if we bring in a big music act, then the followers of the music act will come themselves. So for that, and then they'll stay for other things. So we have, although we started out the planning for the Earth Fair way in the beginning with only pro bono acts would come in, we've now started actually paying our acts. And so, I think the music is a really fun part of it. Like last time we just had some really, really exciting music, and it's not just all folky music either. We had like Kubarikwa, and we had lots of other really fun like bands come in, and the percussion orchestra of Kingston came in, and they did that presentation one time. And so this is a long way of me saying I can't give you an exact number because we don't have it. And it's not a fundraiser. It is not a fundraiser. So people can vend, but we are not doing it to raise money. We are doing it because the community should have an Earth Fair is basically what we've always said. This community, which is so environmentally friendly, should be having an Earth Fair. Melissa? Oh, sorry, Carl, did you have more?
Well, just the problem, and I mean this with intentional irony, is that it's too damn virtuous. You know, people don't want to attend virtuous events. People want to drink and party. And so the sort of creative question I would ask you is, how can we make an Earth Day or an Earth Fair event sound like something party-like and fun and genuinely ecstatically celebratory, rather than virtuously going through the numbers and proving that you care about the planet? You know?
Right. Yeah, it's definitely a good consideration. Melissa?
I'm excited to attend the meeting. I'm gonna be there and I want to plan. In past years, I've had a job during the, like, you do a lot of daytime planning. So I'm excited to actually, and I think it's important that we have at least me and some other people from Climate Smart planning it, because I feel like I've seen our logo on promos and I don't know. I think we should be, more involved than we have been, because I feel like it's just been you and Betta in the past. And yeah, even if it's just people sharing the flyers on their Facebook and things like that, we should be doing more as a commission, I feel. Okay.
Thanks. Cal?
So I was one of the planners of the 2019 Earth Fair, and I didn't get to attend, which was terrible. And so I did so much work in the planning, it felt like, and I didn't get to actually be there. I had to go out of town for something my mom needed me. But the planning process, there is a lot. I will echo, there's a lot that goes into it. However, the event itself had a lot of really cool stuff going for it. Like the live music was really interesting and cool. The food was really interesting and cool. I think as far as it sounding, the virtuousness being a deterrent, I see that when you compare it to the Huli maybe, or that sort of party or more party-like atmosphere. But as far as an event to bring kids to, it's I think it had a lot of appeal for that, especially being next to the Forsyth, next to and in, I think, the Forsyth Nature Center. So I think the other thought I have is it's challenging to have indoor events right now, but I am very interested in more outdoor things to go do. I'm feeling kind of starved for that kind of thing because it's winter, and I know that as soon as it's warm out, I'm going to be wanting to be outside going to stuff that other people are at. And I suspect that that's not a thing, that's just me. So yeah, I'm interested in helping. I don't know how much. I don't know if I can do as much as last time, but I'm definitely down to help.
Great. Other thoughts?
I just wanted to circle back to the refrigerants, because this is when we talked about doing the Amnesty Day.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah. So we would do good forgiveness, potentially.
Yeah, I mean, some of the auxiliary things that we've done, I don't know, I call it auxiliary, that was a random word to throw in, but some of the things that we've done at the Earth Fair, as I mentioned, we've done paper shredding. So right now, we basically tell folks that you have to throw your shredded paper away, which is challenging for me to even say out loud, because Ulster County Resource Recovery Agency accepts shredded paper, but they only accept it in plastic bags, which means we would be telling people to put your shredded paper in a plastic bag, in your yellow tote.
Right.
That we are not comfortable doing. So, because all of the rest of it is uncontained and it all gets dumped out on the floor, and you know that what happens is that plastic bags then rip, and suddenly it is a ticker tape parade down Wall Street of everyone's shredded paper because it fell out of the back of the packer. So we tell people to throw away shredded paper. So our justification to ourselves is that at the Earth Fair, we then we have brought in a shredded paper company where people can bring their confidential documents or whatever they want to bring, and they'll shred it for free. We've also done e-waste collection So people can bring their e-waste. We've brought a big truck there so people can bring their electric e-waste, even though we do waste out all the time at the transfer station, we just provided another site. And then this, what we're discussing is one of the things that we see as a deterrent for people legally and safely disposing of white goods with refrigerants is that they don't want to have to pay. And right now it's $35 per item. So if you're getting rid of a microwave or if you're an air conditioner rather, or a refrigerator or something that has refrigerants in it, you have to pay $35. And I personally witnessed people drive up to Department of Public Works with an air conditioner. We said we can only accept that for $35, and they drove away. And they said, I'm just going to dump it on the side of the road. I witnessed it. I was there. I don't know if they ended up dumping it on the side of the road somewhere. I hope that they did not. But I personally have witnessed people being deterred by the cost. And so our discussion has been maybe one specific day of the year, we just have an amnesty day where if you have white goods and you don't want to pay, you bring it this day. That means that we still don't have to eat the cost. So we could totally do that if we wanted to as part of it. We need to get sponsorships for part of that. That could be how some of the sponsorship money goes. Sponsorship pays for us because the city, the reason we charge isn't just because for fun. We charge because we have to pay to get those materials disposed of. And we have to pay for the evacuation of the refrigerants. And so we pass that cost on to the community. That's what the $35 is. So if we did this amnesty day thing, of course, we'd have to have Department of Public Works on board, and we would need to have funding to be able to, you know, sponsor the cost, because who knows how many we get, right? What if we get truckloads of white goods? We would need to compensate for that. And I'm not discounting it. I actually think it's a great idea. But that's the whole thing. I can't sit here though and say that it would be yay or nay, because I don't actually have the ultimate say on whether we can do a refrigerant amnesty day. The only way I would be able to really sell it is if I could say, hey, we got $1,000 sponsorship from so-and-so, or we got a $2,000 sponsorship from so-and-so. So we'll accept the first 50 white goods. I mean, that would be a no-brainer, in my opinion, especially if we got the funding to offset it. Melissa?
I thought we were applying for a grant for refrigerants for an amnesty day. What?
We are going to, and I was mentioning before, I haven't seen the grant come through, and
Okay.
the intent is to still do it. But even if we were to find the grant, apply for it, and be successful, none of that would happen before
Okay.
before spring.
All right.
So it would be for the following year.
Something else. Okay.
Oh, no, it would still be for that and other things, but at the amnesty day would
not
be
for
the following year.
Okay.
Other things?
Well,
Carl?
at the risk of complicating this conversation just a bit, as a consumer, I know that there's hazardous waste recycling and you can bring it in on such and such a day. I go do spring cleaning in May and they say, well, next April, you can come and drop it off. My brain can't process 8 or 9 months waiting time. And I think that it would be much more effective if we could have 2 half days, but an annual amnesty day. People don't notice it. People forget about it when it runs. It's not part of their schedule. So I would have, not a day, but a morning twice a year or something like that. So people can have it, something imminent they are prepared to wait for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as we've sort of been mentioning and alluding to, we have a whole entire plan of applying for a refrigerants grant that comes through the DEC that has 5 different components, which include like, I have to remind me, like one of them is an amnesty day or days, like you're mentioning. We talked about, a replacement plan, I think, for the city refrigerants.
Community outreach and education, I think.
Education is part of it. Basically a whole scope of things that includes some education, some actionable items. And one of those with the grant funding would be to do this amnesty day or days. And I fully agree that, like, how often do we miss the household hazardous waste day because we're just happening to not be in town that day? But what we were thinking for this, if we're already going to be convened, we at least should add it into this event as well. But yes, I hear what you're saying.
Thank you.
Any other thoughts? All right, so I encourage folks, if you have an hour, to give it to us on February 3rd. If you don't have an hour or don't want to attend, then shoot me a note and we can talk about it offline, or don't, that's fine too. So either way, I will keep folks posted as to how that event goes. And should the decision be to advance the Earth Fair, you know that I will be reaching out for assistance. We also are trying to narrow in on the dates, and just for the sake of fun, is there anyone here that can tell me any reason why we would choose April 30th over May 14th or May 14th over April 30th? April 22nd is Earth Day. So Earth Weekend would be like April 23rd and 24th. But our entire planning team here in the city, in our department, is actually going to be away for spring break and or doing spring break camps and stuff. So having something right after spring break is not something that we are able to have the capacity to do, which is why the earliest we would consider would be April 30th. May 7th is the Mother's Day weekend, I think, and or maybe the Kingston Classic or something else that's going on. I can't remember why we avoided that weekend, but then we were looking at May 14th. So the 30th or the 14th. Cal?
I would suggest the 14th, both because you're more likely to get good weather and because the weekend right before and after Earth Day tend to have a lot of stuff. They tend to be really busy. And so rather than competing against other similar sustainability events, it might be better to just move it a couple weeks out.
Okay. Is anyone, any other comments on that? Verbal agreements there? Does anyone know of anything that's happening on May 14th already that you're like, no, you can't possibly do it on the same day as Arshta? No Arshta on May 14th? Okay. All right, well, anything else anyone wants to chat about on this? I will say that there's a feeling inside of me that's kind of like, oh my gosh, we're planning an event. Like events are fun. This is so fun. And then you see me in 2 months and I'm like, you're like, Julie, why are you furrowing your brow so much? She's like, wait, this is my normal face again. Always mush. It is what it is. All right, moving on. Announcements, communications, events, and updates. Serena is not here from public safety. Does anyone else have anything from public safety?
Let me see, am I on? Yeah, okay, I'm not muted, right? Okay, right. Okay, I just downloaded the agenda. I see Ted is going to be there from the CAC,
Yeah.
but looks like he's scheduled for, I don't know, an old business, which might be at the end of the meeting. It looked like there's a discussion on traffic safety from Chazen, which I'm gonna think this refers to Golden Hill, but it doesn't, the agenda doesn't really say that.
Okay.
And a handicap review on Fairview Avenue. That looks like it.
Okay. Carl, just to let you know why public safety is on our agenda, both the Conservation Advisory Council and the Climate Smart Kingston Commission have been assigned a liaison from the Common Council, but we take the extra step to then go to public safety. So years and years ago, we started this affiliation with public safety, which is not just public safety, it's also the general government committee, as you know. So general government was the reason to basically have a presence at every public safety meeting, both the Conservation Advisory Council and Climate Smart, even if the presence is only a 5-minute conversation, but just to say, our commissions exist. This is what we're working on. Here's an update to the council, and also to provide that opportunity for the dialogue for the Common Council if they have anything that they think that the Climate Smart Kingston Commission or the Conservation Advisory Council should be working on. That's when that dialogue can happen. But also, like, if we're working on something that takes a long time that we're eventually looking for approvals for, the Common Council will have heard about it month after month. So it's not like, ta-da, we have this climate action plan that you haven't heard about because you've heard about it for the last year. So that's why public safety is on here. And we have, so a representative from this board goes to each public safety meeting and then comes back and on our agenda reports back what that dialogue was. Okay. So that was it on public safety then, Kevin?
Yeah. Carl, I used to be the liaison from this board and from the CAC. And I found that sort of, some of the council members, it almost like they sort of morphed the two boards together because they're both environmental. And, I would sort of go through the minutes from this group and then the minutes from the other group. So I think, and it's starting in a few minutes, I believe. And it was really a rush for me to get out of here, to keep the minutes for this meeting and then run to that meeting. It was like, literally, I'd be running through City Hall. And now you'd be running through Zoom. And I couldn't do the liaison anymore. So Serena has been doing it, but I think she's absent today. So
Well, thank
some
you.
of what we're covering, Ted will pick up from the CAC end, the Conservation Advisory Council. So that's sort of the story on that, the backstory.
Thanks, Kevin. Okay, Roberto, do you want to give us an update on the Ulster County Climate Smart Committee?
Yes. What we discussed really was something that is a little bit disturbing. Apparently, the Public Service Commission is planning on instituting a solar tax for all new residential solar installations after January 1st. They're going to grandfather in anyone who has, hello?
We hear you. Did we lose you?
Okay, good. They're going to grandfather, lost you. They're going to grandfather in anyone who's been prior, who have, residents who have solar installations, and they're going to grandfather in, they're going to charge them a customer benefits charge. So apparently the cost of net metering is going to increase for those people who have, who are doing net metering with their solar systems. My concern, besides that, I inquired what's going to happen with community solar. Is this situation is going to also be relevant to community solar, and nobody really knows yet. So I'm going to be sending you some more information, Julie. I'm going to be emailing you some more information and all the costs. I have this information here. Central Hudson's going to be charging $1.31. I think it's per. Now here's a little bit of a confusion. My understanding of kilowatt, how Central Hudson charges is kilowatt hours, but they're talking about kilowatts per month. And so I sort of got lost because I didn't quite understand how that would work. But I'll do some more research to find out exactly, how they're going to be costing this out. And it was really disappointing, very disappointing to hear this. This could suppress the solar industry and suppress people from continuing to buy into solar energy and to put solar energy, particularly in the residential market. I don't know what else to say. Anyone responses from any of you guys?
Yeah, I mean, we were made aware of it before the first of the year and looked into it in regards to the impact that it may have on our solar project on the Andy Murphy Center. And Ellie, what did we determine? That it only applies to residential?
We determined it only applies to residential, and I read through the order, and it sounds like part of their reasoning for doing this is to encourage people to get on board with battery storage. So they're taxing the net metering so that you don't net meter, you store your extra energy. But to me, that didn't make any sense because battery storage is just like so expensive and like not really like super accessible these days. So, but no, it's not going to affect the array that we have on this building because we're not a residential property.
All right, Ellie, what do you think about, how do you have any idea how it might affect community solar?
Well, community solar kind of links you to a commercial solar array because we're talking about like these huge solar farms, right? Those aren't residential solar arrays or anything like that. So my gut is to say that it wouldn't affect community solar, but I can't say for sure. Just because like we're talking about like humongous solar farms. We're not talking about like panels on people's roofs with community solar.
And the other interesting thing is that this all came out of the Public Service Commission. And this proposal or this proposal for this tax came from the Public Service Commission. And I don't think they have the right to tax. I mean, this is.
Oh, I don't know. But it's not gonna, I mean, I don't know. Dan, you know about solar, right? Isn't that your job? Do you know anything about this? Do you know if it's gonna affect community solar?
I know a couple things about solar, but what's the question exactly?
Is the tax on net metering for residential solar arrays gonna affect community solar?
Yeah, I was just looking at this issue. There is net metering for residential, which allows you, it just stays, whatever you produce, it just stays as a credit on your account. But then there's remote net metering. That's different than just net metering. Community solar relies on a different mechanism. The acronym is BEATER. Currently, that's the value of distributed energy resources, and that's calculated using a method that includes, the capacity that it's providing, the energy and the power, and also the region that it brings to. So it's more market tied.
Is community.
Those are three different mechanisms.
But it doesn't sound like it's related to residential solar at all. So I don't think that this would affect community solar. I don't know though. I really can't.
Dan, does community solar do net metering?
No, well, not exactly. Community solar, there is an array somewhere else. You sign up and subscribe to it, and they will
sell you.
You basically get the value of the credit.
Okay, and then the energy companies like Central Hudson, all they do is they charge the customer for the delivery. Is that correct? For using their system.
Correct. That will always happen, and there are different ways that you are credited with the energy from community solar. Usually it's on bill. Usually the community solar will absorb your whole energy cost from your bill, but then you have to go pay the community solar company for that. But you'll usually save, on average, you'll save 10% on your energy supply costs.
I see Cal's hand is up. Cal, did you want to contribute something?
Yeah, not to talk specifically about the community solar question. I think I agree that it doesn't sound like community solar will be affected. But this does feel like a policy that's at cross points with the Climate Act, and like a policy that probably will, I think I've heard a couple of reports like it will devastate the residential solar industry. I don't think that's true, but I do think that it can dampen people's interest in residential solar at a time that we really need to be, like statewide anyway, in order to meet the targets of the Climate Act, really need to be encouraging that greater residential solar adoption. And I just kind of wonder, and I don't know that anyone here will know the answer to this, but I wonder, like, is this a fait accompli? Is there any kind of like pushback that can be given to the policy? Like, does the Public Service Commission just get to decide and then that's it? Like, is there any kind of, is this the sort of thing that there should be some kind of public opposition to? I don't know. I don't have those answers, but I wonder if there is a space to do that, and wonder also whether, Melissa and I are both working with New Yorkers for Clean Power along with Beta. It sounds like the sort of thing that, like, if the right next step would be some kind of public pressure to change the policy, that like we could get something started on that and probably build some momentum. So I just actually don't know what the next step is, but I wonder if there is room here for there to be a next step to try and at least show some disappointment with this kind of policy. Again, this isn't on the municipal level, so I don't know how much we can discuss that here, but I am interested in those
I
questions.
just want to tell you, Cal, that the Ulster County Climate Smart is definitely planning on. They were discussing this at the meeting that beginning to organize to oppose it. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, please keep us updated.
Oh yeah.
And
So-
thank you for taking on that responsibility of representing at Ulster.
So Roberto, when you say oppose it,
I'm
isn't it
sorry.
like,
What was discussed at the meeting was among the members was what to do about it. And so they were discussing, you know, how they would go about opposing it if it truly going to happen. And Manager Green was one of the people who was, you know, talked about the possibility of organizing opposition to the new policy. And you know, the policy is divided into two parts. People who have solar right now, they're going to be grandfathered in. But with the solar tax can apply to all new solar after January 1st. So there are two components here. So it seems to be a pretty complicated law here of what they're doing.
okay, I guess what's not clear to me is, as Cal was saying, it's already in fact started January 1st. So what
Yeah,
is,
I have it right
Yes.
here. It was voted on in August.
right, so
So
what is there to object to? It's, I mean, we can object, but it's already happening.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you know, I mean, so suppose if you oppose something, certainly you could get it amended in some way.
Okay, so the county is looking to override, like,
I think I'm not sure if it's the county. You know, it's Manager Green
oh, right,
discussed this at the meeting that you know that they want to oppose it, and many of the people who were there agreed, and so they were talking about what kind of opposition they could muster up in order to oppose the law.
right,
And
okay.
they even talked about contacting the governor as well, that the governor had the ability to reverse it.
Okay.
Does anybody have the Public Service Commission case number?
Ellie has it.
Yeah.
yeah, I
that-
have it right here. It is, where would I find the case? Oh, case number. Yeah, I'll put it in the comments. If that's
Oh,
easier.
okay. Yep.
15-E-075-1.
Okay.
Also, I just wanted to say, if you download this, you can go to the back and there is a number of comments that were provided by solar providers. I think it's all solar providers. And then there is the City of New York. So the whole, I don't know who commented on behalf of the city, but Department of State Utility Intervention Unit as well. I don't know what that is, but there is a list of commenters and their comments, and I read through some of them, and a lot of them are opposed to it, but they still passed the order anyway.
Right.
I just wanted to let people know that. I might actually have a PDF of this if people want it. I can, if anyone's interested, I can email it to you.
Yes, please do send that. I can put my email in the chat if you don't already.
Yeah. Julie, can I just send it to you and can you forward it to the whole Climate Smart group?
Okay. Okay.
And Julie, I'll be sending you some information as well.
Okay, great. Any other discussion on that particular part of this discussion? That was redundant.
Found it. I think I got it.
Okay. So let's stay up to date on that. Roberto, was there anything else you wanted to report on from the?
That was really the main, one of the primary topic of discussion.
Okay. Does anyone else have any other events or updates or announcements that they would like to make? Okay, not hearing any. We need to determine our social media posting. Is this that you just posted, Kevin? This is the thing that Ellie's looking for?
Yeah. I think that's the actual download from the Public Service Commission.
Oh, okay, I can't find the PDF in my file, so I was gonna download it.
I think we
Oh,
can.
oh,
do
I
it
just
from
found
here.
it.
Oh, all
Sorry.
right. Okay.
I'm just gonna send Julie this PDF and then Julie can forward it to everybody if
Okay,
that's
Okay.
better.
And for those on the, watching this on a recording or listening from the comfort of your home, you can also click on the link that's in the chat and you can get it there. So determining social media postings. If you wouldn't mind posting that the final climate action plan is available at Engage Kingston, that would be great. Are there other things that we want to particularly post on social media?
I have a question. I have having a street tree on my list of possible social media posts, but I already posted about it, I think. Is that over and done with for a while now? Did they meet their cap? Because I think you said they still were looking for participants. But that was a couple, like maybe 2 meetings ago.
I know that they didn't. We talk about it at the CAC. I feel like they didn't finalize the list yet, but I don't know if they're still looking for more. Kevin, do you remember?
No, but I could try to find the CAC minutes and. see what
I
we
would be
got.
hesitant to put out a posting when we are not entirely sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to know if I should keep it on my list of, not that I would post anything soon. I also have like CAC new members. Did you guys get new members? Do I not need to try to?
We did get new members, but we're still looking for more, and we are looking for more in this commission as well.
Okay.
So we have two.
What about the charging stations? You want to put that in Facebook? The
Sure.
locations of the new charging stations?
Yep.
Okay. Can you send me info on that?
Yeah, I actually will forward, a press release went out today. I will forward that. I will forward that press release.
Okay.
On trees, right? That's.
Yeah,
what-
street trees.
Okay, yeah. Anita, who's one of our council members, discussed that a tree list with native and non-invasive trees was prepared for Henry Street, for the Henry Street project. After reviewing the tree inventory, the tree commission, she attended the tree commission meeting. is Not recommending planting maples and honey locusts for tree planting. So that's all I have.
Mm.
So, no, man, that's probably not what you're looking for.
Okay, I'll keep it on my list and not post anything for now, though. Yeah, anybody got anything else? I have the event for tomorrow.
Yes. I forgot something. I don't mean to
Yep.
interrupt.
Yeah.
But they also talked about Arbor Day. Arbor Day, is it anyone familiar with Arbor Day?
Yeah, are they
And-
doing an event?
Okay, and that there's a 5K tree planting grants are going to be available. And I didn't get any more data on that, but Ellie, you might research that. There's going to be
Tree
I think
planting day?
yeah, there's going to be a $5,000 tree planting grants for Arbor Day. I'm not good at it. I'm getting better. So guys, please bear with me.
Doing great.
So not really.
Showing up is the number one thing.
I appreciate the compliment. So anyway, yes, there's going to be, it's UCD, environmental, and they're doing $5,000 tree planting grants for Arbor Day. And the other thing I forgot to talk about, and I realized that I had it here, was solar mapping. There's obviously an RFP for solar mapping, and I think the date for that, the termination date is March 22nd. Solar mapping is solar mapping. It's I think it's what the solar companies use well, when they want to determine whether, you know, your space is good for solar, you know, whether it's viable for solar. And so they have a technology. Dan, are you're familiar with that, right? The solar mapping? Dan?
Yeah, you're talking about for a particular building?
Yeah, for buildings. So there's an RFP for solar mapping training. And
Are you
apparently,
talking about the solar mapping cohort that Manna is doing with Sustainable Hudson
yes,
Valley?
yes.
Okay, yeah, she's
Thank
looking
you,
for
thank you,
funding.
Melissa.
Yeah, she's looking for funding. We have a meeting tomorrow. I didn't want to give an update because we don't know anything yet, but yeah, they want to do another one and they want to get more climate smart commissions involved, more town boards and community boards in the next round. And they're looking for maybe 2 a year. So, and basically it's running through the Sustainable Hudson Valley's solar mapping tool and finding where's the best place to put solar in your town, but also like knowing the different layers, like floodplain layers and habitat layers, and how to fight developers if you feel like, you know, they're trying to cite something that you don't agree with. You have more, yeah, but
Okay.
Amanda's trying to get funding for that to make it a bigger thing.
Okay,
Thanks for that clarification.
that's it.
Okay. Anything else that we want to post on social media? All right, if not, I would like to just look at our next month's meeting date, which is February 23rd. Is there going to be quorum? Is there anyone who knows they are not able to make February 23rd?
Should be there.
All right, sounds like everyone, I'm not hearing anything, so I'm taking that as everyone's gonna be there. So if there is no other business, then I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Karen, second. Any discussion or opposition? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okey doke. It is 6:43. We are adjourned. I hope everyone has a great night. I'm going to
Okay.
stop recording.